Hey, happy Monday morning, April 1st. Question: are you looking forward to dying this week? I'm asking this question because I want to touch on a tension that many Christian entrepreneurs and business owners feel on an everyday basis. And that is that you have a burden or a weight that you're carrying. You've got skin in the game with regard to your business that very few people, if anyone, can truly understand or appreciate. And so, in a sense, it can feel like you are dying on a daily basis, dying to self. And I want to encourage you in that because that's exactly what God calls us to do, is to die to ourselves. Of course, we just came off of Easter weekend where we just celebrated Jesus' death on the cross and resurrection from the grave in order to redeem us and restore us into a right relationship with God. And it's interesting because as Jesus was literally walking with his disciples to Jerusalem and telling them what was going to happen, that he was going to die, he was going to be flogged, tortured, crucified, and raised on the third day, the disciples really didn't catch on. They didn't believe him. But this is what Jesus says to his disciples. He says, if anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. So what Jesus is saying to the disciples is, look, just as I'm going to the cross and about to sacrifice myself, I'm calling you to do the same thing. Don't hold on to this life, but lean on and hold on to the life to come. Life in eternity is what God was saying. And he says, for whoever wants to save his life will lose it. So if you hold on to this life too tightly, you're going to lose it in eternity. But he said, but whoever loses his life because of me will find it. So whoever loses his life here for Jesus' sake will gain our life eternally in his kingdom. And he says, for what will it benefit someone if he gains the whole world yet loses his life? And that, I think that's a temptation that as business owners we face all the time. And you hear from all these other people and the culture about what success looks like, and how as being successful, you should end up having more, free time, more comfort, more optionality to do what you want to do and not have to be dependent on other people and not feel the pressures of everyday life anymore because you've worked hard and you've earned it. Where in actuality, what Jesus calls us to is something very different as business owners, very antithetical to what the world says business success looks like. In verse 27, he says, for the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will reward each according to what he has done. So what Jesus is saying is he's actually saying that as you sacrifice, as you live self-sacrificially on his behalf, that in eternity we will have a reward for that. As business owners, this is how we live out that redemptive economic principle of being conduits of God's blessing. Obviously, we're conduits of God's blessing by giving someone a paycheck, providing a service or a product that's fantastic, that makes someone's life easier. All those things are true as well, but we also are conduits of God's blessing through our self-sacrifice on behalf of others. But the point I'm trying to make is that often as business owners, you feel it more acutely than most anybody else, especially in our culture where we're all kind of influenced and persuaded often to just be cogs in a wheel, to be dependent on the nanny state or the corporation we work for, that we're dependent on them to just provide for us. And we become these almost like indentured servants and really kind of numb and out of touch with how we're actually being compensated. But as a business owner, you know, you are the one who carries the weight. You are the one who has money invested in your business. You know exactly where those paychecks are coming from. You know the sacrifices that have been made for people to get those paychecks or for the customers to receive the product or service that you're providing for them. And there's a cost involved. But that is your role as the business owner. As a business owner, you have a priestly responsibility, similar to a pastor over a church. And what that involves involves great sacrifice and cost on your behalf, just as it cost Jesus on the cross. But that is what we are called to as business owners. We are called, just as Christ was called to die for our sins in his position of authority in that priestly role. We are in priestly roles in authority over our businesses and called to pay a price for the success of the business, for the success of our employees, for the eventual experience of our customers. My prayer for you this week, as you daily die to self as a business owner, that you would not resent it or grow bitter, but that you would trust that God is using it for his redemptive purposes, and that is the price that you pay for the role that you've been called to, just as Christ was called to pay a price in his role. Now, you don't have to do this alone. At Truth at Work, we are a fellowship of Christian business owners and entrepreneurs who encourage and support one another as we die to self together. I would love to meet with you, talk to you about your business and the unique calling that God has on you in the ways that you are producing value for others, and maybe investigate the ways that Truth at Work could be a resource for you. In the meantime, may God empower you as a business owner to live self-sacrificially this week.